Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and welcome to my channel if you are new. My name is Danielle and I'm a full-time reseller on Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay. Today we have the very last video in the Reselling 101 series and we're going to talk all about how to ship your Poshmark and Mercari sales. Now if you've missed the other videos in this series, I definitely would go watch those first. I basically go from start to finish on how to create a successful reselling business. So we're just going to jump right into this video. We're going to talk all about shipping. Now I am going to primarily focus on Poshmark and Mercari. If you're looking for anything around eBay, this is not the video. eBay is not my strong suit. Maybe it will be in the future. But for now, we're going to focus on Poshmark and Mercari. So the first thing you need to do when you make a sale is obviously print the label. Now, there's different ways you can print labels. You can print labels on a regular printer, or you can print labels on what we call a thermal printer. Now, when you're first starting out, a regular printer works just fine. In fact, there are a lot of people that are very successful resellers that are still just using a regular printer. There are pros and cons to using a regular printer over a thermal printer. Personally, I use the Dymo 4XL thermal printer. I've been using this for quite a while now. It has lasted a really long time and it really has never failed me. I've never had any problems with it. So I love to use this printer, but if you are just starting out, I would definitely recommend just sticking with your normal printer. So one big pro to using a thermal printer over a regular printer is that you don't have to buy any printer ink. Now, for some people, this is not really a big deal. They don't mind buying printer ink. You just still have to buy the labels, but that is pretty much it. And the biggest con to owning a thermal printer is the price. There are so many different options out there. This is just the one that I use. There is like the Rollo printer that a ton of resellers use and love, but most of them are just a higher price point than a regular printer. Now, there are pros and cons to owning a regular printer as well. You have to buy paper and you have to buy ink, and it's just not as, in my opinion, not as efficient. I have a regular printer and a thermal printer because I use my thermal printer for Poshmark labels, and then on either Flip or Mercari, they do not have an option to format your labels to 4x6, and I really don't feel like I want to take screenshots and crop them and do all that, so I just print those on my regular printer, and the only thing that I find there is that it's not as efficient as printing on my thermal printer. I do find that my thermal printer prints a lot faster, but I do most of my volume on Poshmark, so it doesn't bother me that I do my labels for Poshmark on my thermal printer and then my Mercari and Flip labels on my regular printer. Doesn't bother me, but in the end, you got to go with what works for you. If you think that the thermal printer is too much and you're rolling just fine with your regular printer, stick with your regular printer. You don't need to add an extra expense or business expense if you don't need to. Now, if you're to the point in your business where, okay, I'm making like 5 sales a day, it would make my life a lot easier to have a thermal printer, I would definitely invest in a thermal printer. Again, this is personal preference, so just make the best decision for your business. If you do decide to get a thermal printer and use that, there is one very important step on Poshmark that you have to do in order to print your labels in a 4x6 mode. On a regular printer, you're printing on regular paper and it's not using the whole paper. If you're using a thermal printer, it's going to print 4x6 labels. And Poshmark is not suited to do 4x6 labels automatically. You have to go change it in your settings. So how you do this is you're going to go to your Poshmark app and open up My Seller Tools. You're then going to go click on Shipping Label Settings. And then you're going to see a bunch of different options, including size of your labels, packing slip, and adding the SKU to your packing slip. You're then going to click on a 4x6, and that'll change your labels to the 4x6 size from the regular 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. You can also print packing slips and add the SKUs to that if you choose. I personally don't use that feature, but I know a lot of people who do. So that, again, is another personal business decision. Just do what's best for your business. So in order to print your labels, it is very easy with both Poshmark and Mercari. You're going to get an email if you have that set up, that your item sold. If you don't have that set up, you can literally just go into your Poshmark or Mercari account and print the label from there. Now, one feature I absolutely love on Poshmark is the ability to print bulk labels. You can go into your settings, into your account, and you can click on My Sales. There's then going to be a button that says Actions on the top left, and you want to click on that. And then you're going to hit on Download Shipping Labels, and you're going to select all the labels that you want to print. This will then send an email to your email with all of the labels that you selected to print, and it will bulk print them all. This goes by so much faster than printing each individual label by itself. It is crazy. I remember when they didn't have this feature, and it would just take so long to ship. And now that I can just print them all at the same time, it goes by so much faster. So I would definitely utilize printing your labels in bulk. I talk about working in bulk all the time. It is no different for shipping labels. Now, once you get the email in your inbox, you're going to go in, either print on the thermal printer or your regular printer. Pretty self-explanatory. One thing I do have to do when I'm using my Dymo to print is I have to select that I am using 4x6 on my computer, which doesn't bother me. It takes 2 seconds. And then if it's the regular printer, I just switch the printers and print it that way. Printing is very self-explanatory. You've probably printed a million things in your life before. One thing I like to do once I have all my labels printed is I like to go and write on the back of all my labels what the item is that's sold. This not only makes shipping go by faster because you know exactly what item you're shipping, but it also will prevent mix-up of items. This has happened to me in the past. I've mixed up 2 different items and then the buyers have to send them to each other, and it's an ordeal. So I would highly recommend either writing on the back, or if you're printing packing slips with SKUs on them, that'll make it easier as well. But definitely do something where you know which item is which, because the last thing you want to do is mix up a package, because then it takes longer to arrive, it takes longer to get your funds. So just make sure you're being very, very careful when you're shipping your packages and you're putting the right item with the right label. Now, I want to go over what you can use to ship your packages. Now, this is going to vary from Poshmark to Mercari, so we're going to start with Poshmark because that is pretty straightforward and simple, and this is the platform that most people are going to be selling on. Poshmark shipping is very, very straightforward. The buyer always pays for shipping. You can offer a shipping discount, but it is up to £5, and you can basically use anything priority mail to ship your packages. Now, what priority mail means is you're going to go to the post office, or you can go online and order these free priority mail shipping supplies. Now, there are tons of different types of priority mail shipping supplies. You can pretty much use all of them. It even says on the bottom of all your Poshmark labels that you are allowed to use any priority mail shipping that you want. Now, you can use non-priority mail boxes and it will still ship priority mail because things ship based on what's on the label, not the box it's in. So you can use plain poly mailers, plain boxes, and it'll still ship that way. But I would highly recommend just getting the free shipping supplies from the USPS website. When I first started, I don't think I knew what this was. And then once I figured out what it was, I was like, oh, I could have been getting free shipping supplies this whole time. So I do want to go over like my favorite priority mail shipping supplies just because I feel like it might be helpful. So by far my most used item is this Tyvek envelope. This is just a priority mail lightweight envelope, and it's super easy. You just put your item in here, peel this sticky off, fold it over, stick the label on, and you're done. This basically works for most clothing items and even some shoes. And it basically fits most things that are not super bulky. This is by far my most used shipping supply. Another one I like to use is the flat rate padded envelope. This is basically the same thing, but the size is going to be a little different. So this is the size difference in these two. It is significantly smaller, but it is padded. I sometimes will put some small shoes in here that won't get damaged in transit, and I just want a little bit of extra padding. Or I'll put some clothes in here. Basically whatever I want to put in here, I will. If it fits in here, I'll put it in here. If it doesn't fit in here, I will most likely put it in here. Another thing I love to use is this box. It is the small flat rate box. The dimensions of this are 5 by 8 by 1, and this is kind of what it looks like when it gets shipped to you. So how you fold these up is you want to take these flaps up, fold all this in, go around the top, and then you're going to tuck these little flaps into the side here. And then that is your little baby box. Then you can flip these sides down. There is a little sticky part here. You can flip that down, and then you have a little tiny box. Whatever I can fit in here gets shipped in here. These are my favorite boxes to use. Obviously, they are very, very small. Like compared to the Tyvek envelope, it is very, very tiny. So obviously only really small things fit in here, but if it fits in here, it's getting shipped in here. This is my favorite box. I've not really had many issues with it like coming open. You can like secure it with more tape if you want, but this is by far like probably my favorite box to use. I don't know why. It's just so cute and tiny, and I just love using it. And then the other most used priority mail shipping supply is the medium flat rate box. The dimensions of this box are 11 by 8.5 by 5.5. And this is just the box I use to ship shoes. Now, it is a tad big for some shoes, but for the most part, this is my favorite box. But you basically just fold all these flaps down on both sides, and then you're left with a nice sized box for shoes. There are a few pairs of shoes, like big pairs of men's shoes, that don't fit in here, but for the most part, almost every single pair of shoe that I ship fits in here. Now, there are some other priority mail shipping supplies that I use. I don't use them as often, but I like to have them on hand just in case. This is the large flat rate mailing box, just the large mailing box, and then the shoe box. Now, these boxes are not used super often, but like I said, I keep them on hand. But the ones I showed you now are my most used shipping supplies, and I pretty much use them on a daily basis. Now, for Mercari shipping, it is a little more complicated. I would not say it's as complicated as eBay shipping, but it is definitely a little more complicated than Poshmark shipping. So, the first thing you're going to need is a scale. Now, this is the scale that I currently use. It's just a nice little square compact scale with a detachable thing that reads the weight. I would highly recommend getting one with this string here, because if you get one where the weight is actually on here, you're going to put a big item on there, and then you're not going to be able to see it. So I would highly recommend getting one with this thing on the side. Oh, and everything I'm talking about, I am going to have a link down below just in case you want to buy it or you see something that would be helpful for you. But I recently bought this scale and I have absolutely been loving it. It is extremely accurate. It works really, really well. The only downside is that it does turn off a little fast. So if that would bother you, definitely don't buy this one, but it does not bother me at all. But this is definitely the number one thing you will need to do Mercari shipping. So Mercari shipping goes solely based off the weight of your item. When you list your item, you're going to need to weigh it so you can determine which shipping method you want to use. Now, you can use whatever shipping method you want to use, but I'm going to go over the best shipping methods to use and what I personally use on Mercari to get the best rates. So if your item is under 4 ounces, which is a very, very light item, not a lot of clothing items even weigh under 4 ounces, but if it's under 4 ounces, I go with USPS first class mail, which is $3.65, which is the cheapest shipping option. For USPS first class, you will need to use a plain poly mailer. These are my favorite. They are just plain, cheap. They work great. You can use like pattern poly mailers. Those tend to run a little more expensive. So it's basically, again, a personal business decision. I just use these because they're a little cheaper. I have this size here, which I don't remember the size, but I will have the link down below. And then I also have a bigger size that I use, but this is going to be for like bigger packages. And then I also love to use shipping supplies that I'm reusing. So if I get an Amazon package, Target package, a box, a mailer, whatever it is, I save all of my shipping supplies and I use that for Mercari. Now the next weight class is 8 ounces or less. Now this is not much heavier than 4 ounces. And not a ton of stuff is going to fall in this category either. But this will cost $4.80 to ship on USPS first class once again. And you will need to use the plain poly mailers once again for the USPS first class. And the next weight class is 1 pound or less, which most of your items are probably going to be 1 pound or less if it's like shirts. Some jeans weigh 1 pound or less. Some of them are heavier. It just kind of depends. But this is going to be $5.99 for also USPS first class shipping. And once again, you will need to use the plain poly mailers for this. Pick whatever size you need. You'll kind of know what size you use the most after you ship more. But this is the cheapest option to ship items 1 pound and under on Mercari. So the next weight class is going to be 3 pounds or less. And the cheapest way to ship 3 pounds or less on Mercari is to use FedEx SmartPost. Now, when I initially was on Mercari, I did not use FedEx SmartPost. It honestly wasn't even an option. But now that it is an option, it is the cheapest way to ship anything 3 pounds or less. It is $7.99, and you can ship FedEx SmartPost through USPS. They do pick this up through package pickups, and if you want to just throw it in the mailbox, and then you can also take it to the counter there. I have not had any problems with FedEx SmartPost thus far, and since we're already shipping with USPS with Poshmark packages and maybe another Mercari package, you want to try to ship everything at one place, just because you don't want to be running all over town trying to go ship a million different things at a million different places. So this is the cheapest option to ship anything that is 3 pounds or less. Mercari has recently added UPS SurePost, which does cost $7.84 for 3 pounds or less. And if that's how you want to do it, that is great. It is a little cheaper, like by cents, but you do have to take it to a UPS place. So again, personal business decision. Do what's best for you. For FedEx Smart Post and for UPS SurePost, you do have to use plain mailers. Do not use anything USPS for a FedEx or a UPS package. Now, if you want to ship USPS and maybe it gets there a little faster, you can ship 3 pounds or less using USPS. It is $12 for 3 pounds, and it does ship through priority mail. So you can use the priority mail stuff. $12 is a little steep for shipping, but again, this is personal business decision. I personally do not offer free shipping on anything on Mercari, so I try to make the shipping as appealing as possible to my buyer. And the way to do that is to use a FedEx Smart Post, but you can use USPS if you want to ship priority mail and maybe get it there faster. Again, this all is personal business decisions. Just do what is best for you. You're going to fill all of this out on the Mercari form. You're going to go into shipping and you're going to put the item weight in, and then it's going to give you all of your options for how you can ship it. They have a ton of different options, which is great. You have a lot of variety of different price points, but just make the best decision. Honestly, I would not offer free shipping just because the shipping can get a little expensive, but just do what works for you. One very important thing to keep in mind when shipping on Mercari is never ever underestimate the weight of your item. Mercari will charge you a whole new shipping label if you do not put the right weight for your item. So if your item weighs, let's say 5.6 ounces, you need to say that it weighs 6 ounces, because if you put 5 ounces and they catch that, they're going to charge you a whole new shipping label on top of the one that was already purchased, and they're going to charge you, not your buyer, regardless of if you have free shipping on or not. So just be careful on Mercari, because they will charge you a whole lot if you mess up your shipping. That is why I highly recommend getting a scale so that you don't mess anything up. Scales are not that expensive. They're actually pretty inexpensive. Like, I would almost get a scale over any other thing that you need if you're going to be selling on Mercari or eBay. You will also need this on eBay, just so you don't make any mistakes and you're very accurate with your shipping. Obviously, when you've been doing this for a long time, you can pretty much guess the weight of most items, which is kind of what I was doing for a really long time. But since I got on eBay, I started using a scale, and it's just kind of helped with Mercari as well. So definitely be careful with your weight on Mercari and make sure it's very, very accurate. Now, there are a couple other things you'll need to ship your packages, like tape. There are some optional things like thank you notes and tissue paper and all that. I will sometimes use packing paper for maybe some more expensive items to give it some extra cushions. I also love to use shipping bubbles. These are like my favorite thing to use to like take up extra space in a box, but you can use really whatever you want. I order these off Amazon. Of course, I'll leave the ones I order down below, but you can basically do whatever you want in your package. If you want to go over the top, cool. If you want to just keep it basic, stick your item in there and go, which is what I do, go for it. Basically, personal preference. Most people don't really care if you have like a thank you note or tissue paper or anything in your package. Some people will be upset that you don't. I have gotten a bad review because I did not include a thank you note in there. But when you are selling a ton of stuff, you don't really have time to sit there and write thank you notes to everyone. And when I first started, I did write thank you notes to everyone and package them up so nicely. But when you're shipping out 10, 15 packages a day, you don't have time for that. So do what you wish with that information, but do whatever is easiest and most cost efficient for you. So that is all I have for you guys today. I was gonna go and actually ship packages with you, but I honestly thought that was a little redundant and probably a little bit too in-depth. But if you guys want to see that in the future, let me know. But I just kind of wanted to go over the basics in shipping for Poshmark and Mercari, because Mercari can be a little confusing, and then Poshmark, at the beginning, you're not really sure what you're supposed to use to ship. So I wanted to go over all of that for any of you new resellers out there that just needed a little help. But like I said, I will have everything that I talked about in this video linked down below just in case you wanted to try something out for yourself. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this is the last video in the Reselling 101 series, so I hope you guys enjoyed this series and learned something new along the way. Of course, I will still be making reseller content, so leave anything you want to see down below and maybe I will add it to my video list. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like this video if you're enjoying it, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification to be notified every time I post a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again next week.